Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 6th, and right now we are looking at the visible satellite imagery. As of right now, this morning, you can see some of that smoke out there across eastern Oregon. You see that marine there pushed well in towards western Washington, way into the valley areas of the Cascades. You can still see Mount Rainier and Mount Adams, for example. Kind of a hit and miss marine layer there across some of the Willamette Valley and the Oregon coast, and you can see the Olympic Mountains peering out from that marine layer as well. So if you got up across the higher terrain there, you'd be in some nice sunshine looking down on that marine layer. So let's pack up all the way towards yesterday here, and you can kind of see how that marine layer across western Washington, the Oregon coast, a thunderstorm activity that moved across eastern Oregon and Washington moves out of the area. Marine layer burns off, but not for the coastal area. You can kind of see it remains socked in the clouds there. And then we scroll on in towards this morning, and you can see that fire, new one there near Mount Adams, and you can see the retreat fire there as well, and a lot of smoke moving up from the park fire into eastern Oregon and Idaho. So if you're wondering what that is coming from, it was coming from the park fire yesterday. So I've got some interesting stuff coming up here. We've got a bit of a pattern change coming in here, and we've got some interesting things to look at in the extended forecast, and we're going to dive into those details here as we go through the video this morning. One more look at things closely here. There's that new fire there by Mount Adams, and there's Mount Rainier. Nice, glorious sunshine this morning with that marine layer creeping all the way up into the valley areas. If I scroll back and forth, you can see how that moves around. So now looking at the thunderstorm threat today, it does clip northeast Washington, would be apparent for British Columbia and Alberta, but look at the slight risk here for some wind and hail threats. If you're heading off to the east, including Great Falls, just off to the east of Missoula and Butte, you could be running into some stronger thunderstorms as we go through this afternoon, potential severe thunderstorms. And this is for tomorrow. And then day 3, remember this, because it starts to introduce this risk across some of the Washington Cascades into British Columbia. A little bit of an upper level low here could be spawning some thunderstorm activity here across the area. You're going to look at that in a little bit of detail here in a moment. Looking at Seattle yesterday, 77 degrees. 79 is the average high for this time of year, and this was the first day so far this August that we have been below average, but we're going to start to jump these numbers back up again as we go towards the end of this week, but then we've got some changes coming after that. Taking a look at one more time here, it does include Missoula there in the marginal and Butte. You can see Bozeman here. Look at Helena in the slight risk, Great Falls in the slight risk, some gusty outflow winds, big hail out there, and the thunderstorm threat extends west about towards Thompson Falls there. It does include Sandpoint and Bonners Ferry as well. So if we take a look at the GFS, this is what is going on here. We've got this big ridge here, and it's kind of keeping this troughing here right there, kind of carving this out across British Columbia and some of western Washington as we go through the day Friday. And that could kick off some showers here. Very subtle feature. So we're going to be watching this closely. I can't wait to see what the high-resolution models say when we get into range of this. But then we got the fun extended forecast coming up here, because you can see the troughing start to carve out here as we go through about, this would be August 12th. And the models continue to show this. And look at this bit of cold air here, just kind of perfectly position itself over Washington and Oregon as we go on in towards, we're looking at 180 hours plus right now, but it continues to show some kind of troughing here. You can see the ridging out over the Gulf of Alaska, strong northerly flow here. We'd get a little piece of that colder air across some of the polar areas back down across the region. So that could bring some interesting weather, especially if that sits and spins and bobs back and forth west to east across the area, and then another trough driving down across the Gulf of Alaska. Won't worry about that as of right now. But if we take a look at 10,000 feet, 700 millibars, this will show you. You can kind of, again, see that trough. It's going to be kind of the ridge driving that back down towards British Columbia a little bit. A very subtle feature, again, like I mentioned. But then as we go off in towards the extended, you can see what's going on here. You can see this bit of a polar lobe here just come down and break off a piece of that cooler air and position itself right over the Pacific Northwest. So that could bring some fun weather for us. It's still fantasy right now. I don't want to get too caught up in it, but it is something fun to watch. And you kind of see how that upper level low will just sit there and spin that cold air before finally that next trough comes down and grabs it and starts to move it off to the north and east. Now, taking a look at the GFS. So we're going to scroll out here, and we'll look at Friday first here, because this is the day that we could get some of that troughing activity here with the thunderstorm activity. And again, we'll see how that goes, especially tomorrow. We're going to be looking at the high-resolution models on that. And then we start to go off in towards extended forecast, and then we get that upper level low set up over the area. It's right there. You can kind of see it really kicking off some precipitation, spinning, multiple rounds of it. Possible convection would be in store. with this kind of a system, and then you can see it finally moves through. So again, we'll be watching that one closely over the next few days. Let's see if the European shows what the GFS does. Again, there's that troughing kind of carving back out there that could bring some showers Friday, and then we start to look off and check it out. Pretty good model agreement when we start going out 200 hours, 880, 200 hours out. Again, pretty good model agreement between the European and the GFS, but still, you got to use caution at that time frame. And then you can see additional troughing under the extended forecast as well. Maybe some active August weather incoming. Now, let's take a look at the ensemble means, because the European runs 50 of these members. We tweaked their initial conditions to correct for our lack of understanding in the initial conditions of the atmosphere. So you got 50 of them in the European, you got 30 of them for the GFS, and this is the average at 500 millibars or 18,000 feet. So again, in the short term, it's going to have pretty good model agreement. We'll scroll off into the extended forecast. You can see once we start to get 200 hours out, you see the troughing is there here, but it just kind of drives home the point that you don't want to get too caught up in this time frame. So we're looking at troughing during this period, but right now, it doesn't have, there's not going to be that model agreement because we're just simply too far away from that phase of the forecast. So yeah, anyway, hope that makes sense here. Again, I just want to kind of point caution at that. We're looking at some troughing here, but you don't want to get caught up in the details too much just yet. So looking at lightning flash density potential, you can see as we go through today, we're going to scroll out through the afternoon hours. You can see the European kind of overdoing this probably across the North Cascades, but northeast Washington, across British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana, thunderstorm activity will be, a possibility. And then we scroll on into Wednesday afternoon, one more day there. Now we're going to look off towards Friday, because if we get towards Friday morning, you'll see some of this trying to pop up across some of the North Puget Sound here as well into southwest BC. And then we go into Friday afternoon, and it shows some of this activity here. And again, we're going to take a look at this in the next few days as well, because you don't want to get caught up in too much with that subtle feature, that upper level low as we go through Friday afternoon. But we do have the potential to be kicking off some showers across the higher terrain, and convection would be possible. Now, looking at the high resolution rapid refresh for today, you can kind of see this is probably doing a little bit better, just clipping northeast Washington. The stronger storms will be off across portions of Alberta and Montana as we go through the day today, and then we go through tomorrow, and we lessen that thunderstorm threat through Wednesday afternoon. So another thing to talk about here. So we got more than one thing to look at. Actually, several things, because I have that initial trough, then we have the deeper trough off through the extended forecast. But watch what's going on here. We're looking at 5,000 feet, and you can kind of see we got the onshore flow going right now. We got these westerlies coming down the east slopes of the Cascades and coming across Spokane and out towards Montana. But if we scroll on in towards the Wednesday time period, you notice we start to turn these offshore. Look at these east winds coming. Now we're getting northeast winds and east winds across southwest BC, Washington, Oregon. You don't have to be a meteorologist to know what this means. If we have active fires going here, this is going to start to introduce smoke west of the mountains, and that is a dreadful realization for us here in the Pacific Northwest, because it's hard to tell just how much smoke is going to get brought into the region here, because it depends on what the fires are doing. Are there going to be new additional fires? Are there going to be any human-caused fire starts here over the next couple of days? But yeah, we have this east wind that's going to be coming. And again, this is probably going to be starting here as we go. Let's see. So we stop the onshore flow and we turn it more northeasterly as we go through Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, and we start to introduce these east winds, especially as we go on into very early Thursday morning. So we'll be taking a look at that here in the smoke forecast in a bit. First, looking at SeaTac 76 today, but then warm it up Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, some upper 80s, pretty hot here for Seattle, and then we start to drop back down here with some of that troughing, the potential as we go through the mid portion of August. If we take a look at the daily max temperature for today, 78, you can see the mid 80s for the Willamette Valley, some mid and upper 90s east of the Cascades. Here we go, Wednesday, Thursday, you can see that warm up coming here, and then we start to drop things down a little bit as we go through next week. Still some great uncertainty on how that's going to unfold, though. Now we get to look at the not too fun stuff here, because this is the high resolution rapid refresh. It goes out 48 hours. And I'm not sure what's going on here across Pierce County. Is there an active fire there? I did not actually check this morning, but I did see that was showing up last night. But anyway, you got that Mount Adams fire here, and you got the retreat fire, and you see smoke with the onshore flow continuing to plague portions east of the mountains. But then we start to weaken that flow as we go through Wednesday, and you kind of see this drifting back down towards the Portland area here, and then we start to introduce this back across the Puget Sound as we go through Thursday morning, and that is not what everybody wants to see. But Yeah, this is what's coming for us here, folks. We're going to get some offshore flow, and that could bring some smoke back into the area. Here's the Tri-Cities. You can see like the mixed bag and the hit and miss nature of this. By the time we get towards tomorrow morning, look at that. Some pretty hefty surface smoke likely to be in place. Some decent smoke aloft. Here we go for Bend, kind of a similar situation here, off and on, mixed bag. But it looks like Wednesday early morning the worst for the surface smoke there. This is Spokane, a similar thing here. Very early tomorrow morning, looks like some nasty surface smoke moving in there. Now look at Portland. You can see this trying to get reintroduced here, and could be some surface smoke as we start to head on through Wednesday afternoon. Seattle, and again, this is probably going to change and ebb and flow because it depends just on how much fire activity is going on and just the exact direction of these winds. But you can definitely see the smoke increasing here as we go through Thursday morning. Here's Bellingham, something similar here as well. Maybe looking at some surface smoke as we go on in through Wednesday night. And again, we'll be revisiting this again tomorrow. And just showing you the cross section for the temperatures. This is for today and tomorrow. We got actually Thursday and then Friday here. You can see the warm days and then potential troughing returning. And 7-day significant fire. We're not doing too bad with the thunderstorm activity here over the next few days, but we still have some elevated risk out there. So just a heads up for that. And I forgot to bring up the green circle again. I'll make sure to bring that up tomorrow. We made it almost all the way through the video, but I'll remember to put that green circle around my mouse here. I have to make that a habit. So here's the 8 to 14 day, August 13th through 19th, and you can see the above average conditions here. This is going to be changing here, though. No doubt, it might just not be picking up that troughing just quite yet, but it does show that above average precipitation, August 13th through 19th as well. So anyway, yeah, lots to talk about over the next few days. We're going to be revisiting all this again tomorrow. We'll compare the models, see how much they've changed. We'll make a very detailed look at that upper level low that's going to be moving and kind of bobbing and weaving across the area here as we go through Friday, and see if that does have thunderstorm potential. Then we'll look at the extended forecast and the smoke forecast as well. Otherwise, hope you guys are having a good day. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.